Howdy and welcome back to our daily Bible study. Once again, I am Matthew Gage, pastor at Faith Baptist Church in Decatur, Texas, and we're going to be in Genesis chapter number 20 today. Genesis chapter number 20. And this is an often overlooked story in the book of Genesis. In fact, how overlooked is it? As I was looking over this, I had a few questions I was wanting some answers to share in this video. And I found most commentaries they don't ignore this chapter, but there's very, very little information that they cover at all. There are 3 times in the book of Genesis where an individual claims that their wife is their sister. We've already seen it once with Abraham when he went down to Egypt, claimed that Sarah was his sister there. It's going to happen again here to a different ruler, and then we're going to see it one more time with their son Isaac. And maybe because the story is familiar, it's a repeated theme, maybe that's why it's not quite as well covered or well investigated in some of the commentaries and resources I looked at. But nonetheless, it's a fairly short chapter here, only 18 verses. But like I say, as I was looking over it, and pretty straightforward story, but as I just thought, well, I want a few little details, I was very surprised. There's not a lot of details out there covered in some of the references I've used just for some quick study. So anyway, let's jump right on in. Genesis chapter number 20. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the south country and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar. Now, this is about halfway, if you get a map, it's about halfway from Philistia on the Mediterranean coast and the Dead Sea. About halfway in between there is where Gerar is. And I hope I'm saying that right. Verse 2, and Abraham said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. Now, who is this Abimelech fella? This appears to be a title. This name is reused a number of times, and the Philistines do appear to use it as some sort of title. So right here, we're assuming that it's like using the name Pharaoh, that's just his name is Abimelech, or the title. He is the king of Gerar, so maybe some ties to the Philistines, same region, and then like I said, they're going to recycle that name later, but that's about all we know about him. So what did he do? He sees Sarah, who is 90 years old, roughly about this time. She's up in her late 80s, almost 90, and sees her. She looks very beautiful. He takes her to be his wife. They haven't officially got married yet, but that seems to be in the work. Why is that going on? I think because he wants an alliance with Abraham. He sees how powerful Abraham is. And so he takes Sarah. Abraham lies again here about who Sarah is and their relationship. Lack of faith on his part, and sadly something that happens twice to him and is going to happen again to their son. Verse number 3. But God came to Abimelech in dream by night and said to him, Behold, thou art but a dead man for the woman which thou hast taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her, and he said, Lord, wilt thou slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, she is my sister? And she herself said, he is my brother. In the integrity of my heart and innocency of my hands have I done this. So when God speaks to Abimelech, which is also interesting here, God is speaking directly to him, and he seems to know who the God Jehovah is. So I think that's very interesting. Is he a pure like polytheist or a pagan? Maybe he's a polytheist of some sort, but he's talking to God and knows who God is. So maybe he is another one of these individuals, kind of like Melchizedek, that knows the true God. That's a very interesting thing here in this conversation that jumped out at me. So here he is in pleading to God, saying, God, I didn't know what I was doing. They lied to me. Please don't judge me for I've acted innocently. Verse 6. And God said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that thou didst this in the integrity of thine heart, for I also withheld thee from sinning against me, therefore suffered I thee not to touch her. Now therefore restore the man his wife, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for thee, and thou shalt live. And if thou shalt restore her not, know thou that thou shalt surely die, thou and all that are thine. So God says, okay, not a problem. I understand. I'm just warning you before this has gone too far. You haven't touched her yet, so just give Abraham back his wife Sarah. And Abraham is a prophet. He will pray for you, and everything will be forgiven. So it talks about here, that he would be able to live and all those that are dying. Later on, it does seem there may have been some type of something going on. We'll get that in a little bit. But as far as like judgment coming upon them, that doesn't seem to be very widespread. It talks about that they weren't having children. So I don't know how long this little charade lasted before God stepped in and put an end to it. But during that time that, Abimelech's wives were not having children and things, it was definitely something of concern and notice. Verse number 8. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said unto him, What hast thou done unto us? And what have I offended thee, that thou hast brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? Thou hast done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. He's reproving Abraham. Abraham is in the wrong here. I really feel sorry for Abimelech. I think he is just merely wanting to establish an alliance through marriage with this powerful figure, Abraham, and does appear that he has respect towards the true God, as Abraham appears to be, or Abraham is a follower, and here says he's a prophet. I think that's very interesting and noteworthy of God. So there's some kinship there. They're in the same area. So I think Abimelech is just honestly wanting an alliance to be made with Abraham. I think they have common interest and common territory. Verse 10. Let's see. I'm in verse 10, right? Yeah. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What sawest thou that thou hast done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will slay me for my wife's sake. And yet indeed she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my wife, and she became my wife. We'll go and read verse 13. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, This is thy kindness which thou shalt show unto me. At every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. Abraham basically says, I was afraid. That's the opposite of faith. He says, I was afraid that I would be attacked, that someone would want to steal away my wife because she's beautiful. And so he says, I did because I'm afraid, but I didn't really God gives an excuse. I didn't really completely lie because she really is my kin, and he talks about that, and that was not uncommon back in those days. We've already seen that in the scriptures for these marriages take place in a lot closer relation than what is practiced and promoted today. And once again, I'll say, like I did back when we were talking about early chapters of Genesis, I think it's because the human race is a lot closer to the origin of the DNA and genetics and things make that possible, that you don't have the different mutations and things going on, the problems causing from a marriage with that close of genetic. So verse 14, Abimelech took sheep and oxen, men servants and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before thee, dwell where it pleaseth thee. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given thy brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to thee a covering of the eyes unto all that are with thee, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. So honestly, Abraham makes out a lot better in here than he should. He's reproved. He's lost some faith with Abimelech, but we're going to see that they, I think in this, they still have forged an alliance of sorts in this. That what is done, there looks like some sacrifice and a price being paid and different things there. So I think that they are still following through, and an alliance is made between these two men. Verse 17, So Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. So once, like I said, that's the verse I referenced earlier, where it looks like there was some sort of repercussion for the actions, that because Abimelech was going to marry Sarah, God withheld people from having children, in his household at the time. So interesting little thing there that's kind of brought to light at the end. But note what it is. that solves it, that fixes it. That is Abraham praying. Abraham is still the friend of God. He's still a man of faith, and when he prays, God hears him and heals the situation. And verse 18 continues on. For the Lord had shut close, or let me start over. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. So there we go. The second of the 3 times in the book of Genesis where we have a story about, husband and wife claiming to be brother and sister. The second time here for Abraham and Sarah to do so. And God, I'm also, they get out with a slap on the wrist. They come out pretty good from this, but still a lapse of faith on Abraham's part shows he is human. And these great figures in the scriptures are human still at best. And man of great faith, yes, but still a man. So there we go. That wraps up chapter number 20, and looking forward to getting into the next chapter. We'll get into the birth of the promised son, Isaac. So looking forward to getting into that next time. But anyway, I appreciate you watching. I hope it's been a help and a blessing to you.